Someone has just spoken, and the air in the room suddenly feels heavy, charged with a sharp, unseen electricity. Perhaps it was a veiled insult during a dinner party, a dismissive comment in a high-stakes meeting, or a jagged remark from a loved one who knows exactly where you are most vulnerable. In that heartbeat, your pulse quickens. A surge of heat rises to your chest. The ancient, primal urge to defend, to strike back, to let a cutting retort tumble off your tongue and silence them with equal venom. Every gaze in the room is now fixed on you. They are not just waiting for your words, they are waiting to see if you will break. But this is the precise moment where the modern woman of Stoic discipline finds her throne. You are at a crossroads between impulse and empire, the empire of the self. The sages of old taught us that the prudent do not prevail by out-yelling the storm. They succeed through the quiet tool of reason, utilizing replies that disarm an adversary without ever needing to raise their voice. This is not a retreat into fragility. It is the exercise of the purest kind of power, the absolute sovereignty over your own internal state. Welcome back to this space of reflection. Today, we are not learning how to quarrel or how to win a petty war of words. Instead, we are exploring the high art of conversational finesse, how to guard your self-respect so fiercely that even a rival might eventually become a partner. Marcus Aurelius, a man who governed an empire yet struggled daily with the frustrations of human ego, wrote that the finest reply to wrath is deliberate silence. We will delve into 5 shrewd, Stoic-inspired responses that have stood the test of 2 millennia. These are more than mere comebacks. They are psychological pivots designed to flip an attack into a moment of self-revelation for the aggressor. By the end of this journey, you will no longer fear the sharp tongues of others, for you will possess the mental alchemy to turn their leaden insults into the gold of personal growth. The Stoic exercise, the 3-second threshold. Before we move into our first core lesson, let us ground ourselves in a practical exercise you can use the very next time you feel the surge of a temper. Stoicism is not just a philosophy of the mind, it is a philosophy of the body's reaction to the world. The exercise. Whenever you feel the warmth of a spiked emotion, implement the 3-second threshold, the physical anchor. As the remark is made, press your thumb and forefinger together. This physical sensation acts as an anchor, pulling your awareness out of your ruminating thoughts and back into your body. The internal observation. In the first second, identify the emotion. Say to yourself, I am experiencing the feeling of being offended. By naming it, you create a microscopic distance between the feeling and yourself. The silent breath. In the second and third seconds, take a slow, invisible breath. Imagine this breath as a cooling mist that settles the heat in your face. This briefest of pauses is the deliberate silence Aurelius praised. It is the space where your character is forged. In this void of 3 seconds, the aggressor's words are left hanging in the air, unsupported by your reaction, beginning to lose their power before you even speak a word. The philosophy of the mirror. We must understand a fundamental Stoic truth. Most verbal attacks are not actually about you. Psychologically, most jabs originate from a place of unexamined emotion rather than reasoned thought. When someone calls you unrealistic, uninformed, or disconnected, they are often throwing out foggy labels because they lack the substance to offer a true critique. An attack is frequently a projection of the speaker's own insecurities, biases, or hidden narratives. When you react with anger, you validate their reality. You join them in the mud. But when you respond with the elegance of a Stoic, you hold up a mirror. You stay composed, inquisitive, and poised, and in that stillness, the observer, and often the aggressor, sees the contrast. As we move through these 5 lessons, remember that your goal is to remain the guide of the exchange, never the target. You are moving from a defensive posture to a position of leadership. Are you ready to claim your composure? Let us begin with the first response, rooted in the humility of the great teacher himself. Lesson 1. The Socratic pivot. When the waves of someone else's aggression crash against your shore, your first instinct is likely to build a wall. You want to justify your expertise, list your credentials, or sharpen a counterattack to prove them wrong. But the Stoic woman knows that a wall only gives the wave something to break against. Instead, we become the ocean, vast, deep, and impossibly calm. The first smart response is, I see your point. Help me understand your reasoning. This is the Socratic pivot. It is rooted in the wisdom of Socrates, a figure the Stoics held in the highest esteem, who famously claimed that the only true wisdom is knowing you know nothing. When you use this phrase, you aren't surrendering. You are inviting the other person into the light of logic. The psychological alchemy. Why is this so effective? Most verbal barbs are fueled by emotion, not evidence. When someone uses foggy labels to describe your work or character, calling you naive, uninformed, or unrealistic, they are usually reacting from a place of instinct or unexamined bias. They come prepared for a fight, their adrenaline spiked, waiting for you to cower or claw back. By responding with sincere curiosity, you completely unsettle their strategy. You shift the dynamic from a battlefield to a classroom, and in doing so, you move from being the target to being the guide. You are no longer scrambling to defend your honor. They are now tasked with the heavy burden of substantiating their claims. Imagine a high-pressure environment, perhaps a boardroom or a family gathering, where a voice cuts through your presentation to say, "You're totally disconnected from reality on this." The room falls silent, the tension palpable. Rather than letting your face warm with the heat of defense, you take that slow, stoic breath. You look them in the eye and say, "I see your point. Could you walk me through your thinking? Which exact parts strike you as unrealistic?" In that moment, the weight of the room shifts. If their critique was hollow, as many are, they will begin to falter, fishing for specifics that aren't there. You have gently revealed the gaps in their knowledge without ever having to be hostile. The nuance of tone, a philosophical exercise. The Stoic knows that the tool is only as good as the hand that wields it. For this response to work, your tone must be authentic, not snide. If you sound superior or mocking, the move backfires and becomes just another weapon in a petty quarrel. The inner learner exercise. To master this, practice a visualization before entering potentially difficult conversations. The persona. Imagine yourself as a scholar in a grand library. Your only goal is to find the truth, no matter where it comes from. The shift. When a critique is thrown at you, mentally reframe the critic. See them not as an enemy, but as a difficult text that you are trying to decipher. The internal dialogue. Ask yourself, what data am I missing that led them to this conclusion? This shifts your internal state from defend to discover. This approach is especially potent with habitual fault finders, those who judge quickly but hate the labor of explaining themselves. It also serves as a powerful signal to any observers in the room. They will see your poise and clarity contrasted against the critic's potential lack of depth. Lesson 2. The tactical concession. There are times, however, when the critic isn't just being contrary. Sometimes they have caught a genuine flaw that we, in our human fallibility, have missed. Our ego wants to provide a list of legitimate reasons, technical hurdles, resource limits, or shifting scopes. We want to explain why we failed, so we can feel right, even while being wrong. The Stoic woman chooses a different path, the tactical concession. The response is, "You're absolutely right, and here's what I'm going to do about it." Owning the reality. Epictetus, a man who rose from slavery to become one of the most influential teachers in history, advised, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." Nothing embodies Stoic strength more than the immediate ownership of a mistake. By acknowledging a valid critique at once, you strip the other person of their ammunition. When you meet a grievance with full responsibility and a concrete plan for correction, the atmosphere changes instantly. You remove the core of their anger. Critics usually expect you to wriggle and justify. When you instead present a solution, you convert the interaction from sparring over the past into building the future. Practical exercise, the ego detachment audit. To use this effectively, you must be able to discern between an unfair attack and a valid correction. The exercise, the fact check. When criticized, mentally strip away the tone of the speaker. Focus only on the data. Is there a grain of truth in the what, even if the how was rude? The action pivot. If the critique is valid, give yourself no more than 5 seconds to acknowledge it. The two-step plan. Always follow your acknowledgement with 2 specific actions. For example, "You're right, I missed that deadline. I will have the draft to you by 5 p.m. today, and I've set a recurring alert to ensure it doesn't happen again." This response demonstrates a level of maturity and leadership that earns far more respect than a perfect track record ever could. You show the world that you prioritize solutions over your own ego. You turn a detractor into a collaborator by showing them that you have listened, and more importantly, that you have moved. Lesson 3, the mirror of provocation. There are moments when the air is sliced not by a valid critique, but by a barb intended solely to wound. Some people move through the world with a quiet bitterness, seeking to pull others into the gravity of their own discontent. When you encounter a provocateur, someone who uses belittling remarks to diminish your stature, the Stoic woman does not bark back. She becomes a mirror. The third response is arguably the most potent because it flips the energy of the attack back onto the aggressor. That's an interesting perspective. What made you think of it? The grace of inquiry. This reply is an act of psychological aikido. When someone tosses a cutting line, perhaps mocking your career path, your lifestyle, or your choices, their goal is to see you stumble or lash out. They expect you to provide a frantic defense of your worth. Instead, you answer with calm, sincere interest in their motive. Consider the example of a freelancer being told their work is just tinkering on a computer with no real responsibility. The intent is to needle, to make the professional feel small. By asking, "What led you there?" you're not being sarcastic. You are inviting them to trace the map of their own logic. What usually follows is a revealing silence. Because most provocations are born from emotion, jealousy, ignorance, or a simple desire for power, the speaker often finds they have no intellectual ground to stand on. They are forced to either admit their lack of knowledge or sink further into a petty stance that exposes their character to everyone watching. The Stoic principle, non-assimilation. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that the best revenge is not to be like your enemy. When they try to drag you into the mud of pettiness, you stay composed and inquisitive. The brilliance of this response lies in its innocence. You aren't attacking, you are simply exploring how their view was formed. The mirror meditation. To prepare for these moments, practice this internal visualization. The crystal shield. Imagine yourself encased in a pillar of clear crystal. When a barbed comment is thrown, see it strike the crystal and drop to the floor, powerless. The reflection. Instead of absorbing the barb, imagine your surface is a mirror. The person speaking is not seeing you. They are seeing their own reflection in your calm. The outcome. If they double down on their bias, let them. They are merely broadcasting their own internal state to the world while you remain the master of yours. Lesson 4. The unexpected gratitude. Few things cool the heat of hostility as effectively as the shock of gratitude. It is the ultimate pattern interrupt. When you are met with a stern complaint, a loud neighbor, or a harsh critique, the natural human reaction is to build a fortress of excuses. The fourth smart response is, "I appreciate you sharing that with me." Derailing the script. When someone approaches you with fire in their eyes, they have usually rehearsed the battle. They are braced for you to be difficult, defensive, or dismissive. When you instead respond with sincere thanks for their candor, you derail their script. You validate their feelings and treat them as someone whose input actually matters. Imagine a neighbor confronting you about a barking dog. They expect a fight. By saying, "I'm genuinely glad you came to me directly rather than letting the frustration build," you reposition them from an adversary to a helper. You shift the energy from a clash to a collaboration. Practical exercise. Discerning motive. The Stoic woman is wise enough to distinguish between the manner of a message and the utility of the message. The exercise. Strip the bark. When someone yells or speaks harshly, mentally separate the bark, the volume and anger, from the bite, the actual problem. Value the truth. Even if they express it poorly, is there a truth you need to hear? The reward. By thanking them, you are rewarding their honesty while ignoring their lack of tact. This often draws out their better self, leading them to soften their tone and offer help instead of just complaints. Seneca taught that every fresh start grows from the ending of something else. Your thanks ends the quarrel and begins the cooperation. Lesson 5. The thunderous silence. There are moments when the most eloquent response is not a word, but a void. We live in a world that fears silence, a world where we feel compelled to fill every gap with noise, defense, or justification. But the Stoic woman knows that silence is not a lack of power, it is the ultimate expression of it. When someone says something truly outrageous, cruel, or professionally inappropriate, the strongest answer is one framed by stillness. The fifth response is a deliberate pause, followed by, "Thank you for that perspective." The architecture of the pause. The pause is your linchpin. By waiting several seconds before speaking, meeting the aggressor's eyes with a neutral, steady gaze, you suspend their words in the air for everyone to examine. Without the rush of your reaction to hide behind, the inappropriateness of their remark lingers like a bad odor. In those 3 to 5 seconds of stillness, the room processes what was actually said. You aren't just reacting, you are modeling full emotional control. Epictetus reminds us that it is not what happens to us, but how we respond that carries the true weight of our character. While the other person indulges their worst impulses, your dignified restraint makes them look small by comparison, without you uttering a single unkind syllable. Practical exercise, the still point, visualization. To master the thunderous silence, you must learn to be comfortable in the hush that follows an attack. The exercise. The internal clock. In your daily life, practice waiting 3 seconds before answering any question, even mundane ones like, "What's for dinner?" This builds the muscle of the deliberate pause. The neutral mask. Practice maintaining a soft gaze. Relax the muscles around your eyes and mouth. You aren't scowling or smirking. You are simply observing the data. The high road. When you finally say, "Thank you for that perspective," ensure your tone is sincere, not ironic. The goal is to demonstrate such poise that the contrast in character becomes undeniable to anyone watching. This tactic is particularly effective in group settings, where witnesses can contrast your steadiness with the other person's hostility. It shifts the focus away from whether their point had merit and toward why they expressed it so poorly. Final words. The sovereignty of the self. These 5 responses share a single, golden thread. They keep you governed by your own judgment while allowing others to display who they truly are. This is the essence of Stoic practice, not winning an argument or scoring points, but preserving your honor and your inner stillness, regardless of how the world chooses to behave. Real power is not the loudest voice in the room or the sharpest retort. Real power is the ability to choose composure under strain. When you answer with wisdom rather than impulse, you don't merely win a conversation. You earn a deeper respect and often turn the friction of life into a catalyst for cooperation. The ancient Stoics knew that our reactions define us more than our circumstances ever could. Your replies are the signature of your character. Choose them well. If this journey into the art of the Stoic response has resonated with you, I invite you to leave a mark of your intention. In the comments below, write, "I will practice smart responses." Let us continue to build this mental discipline together, cultivating a life of genuine respect and unshakable inner peace. Until next time, stay poised, stay curious, and remain the architect of your own calm.